Hello everyone, my name is Shaelene and today we are doing a December book haul. This video will feature books that I have purchased through the month of December, books that I have received for Christmas, and even some books that my sister got that I'm also interested in reading. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So I'm going to start with the books that I got for Christmas. Circe. This book is so talked about on BookTube, on Instagram, like pretty much everywhere. I'm quite interested in Greek mythology in general, and I do love books that are kind of set in ancient times, like historical ancient fiction. That's like my favorite genre. So basically this book follows the witch/sorcerer Circe and basically her mythology. It's basically a retelling. Yeah, I'm like really excited to read this, and this cover is so gorgeous. Like, it is just probably my favorite book cover ever. I love the metallic. The next book that I got is When Women Ruled the World by Cara Cooney. Cara Cooney is a Egyptologist at UCLA, and she definitely specializes in female monarchs in ancient Egypt. This is all about how some female pharaohs in Egypt came to power. I love Egyptology. The next book I got is also another nonfiction. This is a true crime. It's I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. Again, I've seen this on BookTube quite a bit, but when I first saw this come out, I was actually quite excited to get it myself just because I love true crime so much. This is focusing on the Golden State Killer, who was a serial killer in the 80s. I'm quite excited to read this. Next we have more of a visual book. This is Less, a Visual Guide to Minimalism by Rachel Ost. She is a YouTuber. She makes videos about minimalism, health eating, workouts, health, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I hope to be a minimalist more at some point. I'm really trying. But yeah, I am quite interested to read this and kind of learn more about minimalism and how to go about it. And next we have The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This was also another book on YouTube that was very hyped up, and I downloaded the sample chapters on iBooks and I got hooked. So this is probably like going to the top of my TBR. I'm just so excited to read this. We are now moving on to the books that my sister got that I also want to read. So this first one is The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawai. He's a Japanese author, and I can't pronounce that name. Basically, this is about a stray, abandoned little kitty cat who gets hurt and he gets rescued by a human. And they ended up going on adventures together. It's such a cute, charming little book. I cannot wait to read this. It's so tiny and cute. So yeah, my sister, she's a crazy cat lady. I'm a crazy cat lady too. I'm just gonna put it out there. I love cats, so I'm probably going to read this and cry because it's so cute. So the next book is The Blythes Are Quoted by L.M. Montgomery. This is like probably the last official book in the series of Anne of Green Gables. The author, L.M. Montgomery, wrote some of this, but it was unpublished because she died. So years later, they basically went back and kind of wrote the rest of the book so that it could be published, because Anne of Green Gables is like an iconic Canadian classic children's story. I love Anne of Green Gables. So yeah, I bought this for my sister because she also loves Anne of Green Gables, even though she hasn't even read the entire series yet. I had planned to buy her the entire series of Anne of Green Gables books, but Canada Post and all that crap, it probably wouldn't have arrived until February, January. So yeah, I am almost done reading Rilla of Ingleside, so this is probably the next book that I will be reading, which I'm very excited but also very sad because it's like the end of a series. and I love Anne of Green Gables. So yeah, I've kind of bought this for myself too. So the next book that my sister got is Maud by Melanie J. Fishbane. This is a novel inspired by the life of Ellen Montgomery. So this is basically a fictionalized story of her life, which I'm also very interested in reading. I think this is a YA. But yeah, I'm excited to read this because I'm like doing all things Anne of Green Gables at the moment. So yeah, it'll be interesting to read this. So we have another Anne of Green Gables kind of spin-off book. We have Marilla of Green Gables. So this is basically Marilla before she met Anne. Basically Marilla Cuthbert is 13 years old. Her mother dies, so she has to keep the household going with her brother Matthew. She wants to get a higher education, but of course during the time it basically wasn't allowed, or it was very difficult. She basically joins the Ladies' Aid Society in Nova Scotia. She has a budding romance with John Blythe, and then she's caught up in the dangerous work of politics and abolition. This will be interesting to read since it's not actually set in PEI too much, but it's actually set in Nova Scotia, which is where I live. So yeah, it'll be interesting to read this. So the next book I got for my sister is Carolina's Twins by Ronald H. Balson. This I read already on ebook, and it was my favorite book of 2018, hands down. Like, it was like one of my favorites. I read this book in one day, and that is not something that happens very often. So yeah, I got this for my sister because I just knew she would love this book, and she prefers hard copies of books. Excited for her to read this because I know she's going to love it, and I'm excited to also reread this at some point because I will just love it all over again. So the next book that my sister got is Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. This is a classic novel. I guess it's like a classic kind of comedy. This is a really thick book, like holy crap. This is like 700 pages. So this, I do want to read this, but like it's a book that I will probably avoid reading for quite a while because it's so huge. My sister got another classic. This is This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald, another classic. I'm also excited to read this. I read Great Gatsby. It was okay. I don't think Great Gatsby is one of my favorite books. I like the movie a lot better. The one with Leonardo DiCaprio. I am interested in this writing because I do like it. So the next book that my sister picked up is the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary Ann Schaefer and Annie Barrows. This is also a Netflix film. Also watched the film but reading the book. But yeah, I liked the movie, so hopefully I'll like the book. So that's pretty much all I have for physical books. I do have an entire list of ebooks because I prefer reading books as an ebook because I have a chronic illness and chronic pain, so my hands are in quite a bit of pain a lot of the time, so it can be hard for me to actually hold a physical book to read it. I usually buy very cheap books off of iTunes, you know, the $4.99 or less section. I hit that up pretty much every day. We have The Liar's Wife by Samantha Hayes. Basically, a girl wakes up in a hospital. The nurse tells her that her husband will be there to see her shortly, except she doesn't have a husband. She's also a loner that's harboring a secret from her past, and you know what, it's just a good domestic thriller. We have another book by Ronald H. Balson, except it's his first one in the series that is the same series that Carolina's Twins is in. This is When We Were Brothers. So the story follows two boys set during the war, and they find themselves fighting opposite sides of the war, and you know, they get all wrapped up in the Holocaust and whatnot. Basically, the lead character takes a respected civil leader to court claiming that he is a Nazi SS officer. So the next book we have is Deep by James Nestor. In a nutshell, this book is basically about freediving, the ocean, science, human biology. So basically we follow this here journalist, and he goes to this here freediving competition. He learns about the sport. He then gets very interested in the ocean and freediving and the human biology behind that and how we were able to do that. So it's a book that I'm quite interested in reading, considering that I wanted to be a meteorologist all my life. So yeah, I'm quite excited to read this and kind of see what I can learn from it. The next book we have is Secrets Between Us by Valerie Ku. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Our main character's sister writes all of her secrets in a letter every day for 15 years. At the end of each letter, her sister writes that if you read this, burn it. So her sister ends up discovering these letters and, you know, finds out shocking secrets about her sister. Yeah, that'll be interesting to read. Next we have The Lies Between Us by Ronnie Turner. This is 3 people leading 3 different lives. John has the perfect life until his daughter goes missing. Maisie cares for her patients while hiding from her own traumatic past. And Miller should be an innocent child, but he is obsessed with something he can't have. And they all have something in common, even though none of them know it. The next book we have is Love Me, Love Me Not by Catherine Diobana. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. So basically today, this is what the blurb says. It's very interesting and intriguing. Today isn't the first time I've thought about killing my best friend. Since they were teenagers, Jane and Elle have been inseparable until Elle stole the love of Jane's life. Now everything has changed. Jane wants him back, and with a little help of her plant collection, that may just be possible. So basically, it's a jealous best friend who wants to kill her friend. So we have Guilt by Amanda Robson. Basically, when the body of a woman is found stabbed to death, the blame falls to her twin sister, but who actually killed who and which one is now the woman behind bars. So we have The Silent Woman by Terry Lynn Thomas. Basically, a woman is trapped in a loveless marriage during World War II. She sees no way out until that is a trusted friend asks her to switch her husband's papers in a desperate bid to confuse the Germans. She finds herself caught up in a deadly mixture of espionage and murder, and someone is selling secrets to the other side, and all the evidence seems to point to her. So we have Galatea by Madeline Miller. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the cover right. So basically we have a skilled marble sculptor and a goddess who gives him the most beautiful woman the town has ever seen, and now Galatea is expected to be obedient and humility personified, but it's not long before she learns how to manipulate humans. So in a desperate bid by her obsessive husband, she is locked away and kept under control, and she basically tries to break free. The next book is To Capture What We Cannot Keep by Beatrice Collin. This is a novel that is set against the construction of the Eiffel Tower. The novel charts the relationship between a young Scottish widow and a French engineer who, despite constraints of class and wealth, fall in love. Next we have The Home for Unwanted Girls by Joanna Goodman. This is a story of a young unwed mother who was forcibly separated from her daughter at birth and the lengths to which they go to find one another, and the daughter ends up being raised in an orphan home in 1950s Quebec. We next have The 13th Tale by Diane Sutterfield. Basically, this story is in kind of the same vein as The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, except that this book follows an author who has written 12 stories about her life, but each one is different and not actually telling the full story, and some of them are like lies. So basically, the author of these 12 stories of her life is very frail, she's old, and she is basically on her deathbed, and now she wants to tell her actual life story. So I think this is very interesting, and I hope that, you know, it'll be good. I actually do want to read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but I couldn't find it anywhere while I was Christmas shopping. And the last book I have is The One Memory of Flora Banks. Basically, this is a girl who has antegrade amnesia. She can't remember anything day to day. Then apparently she kisses someone she shouldn't, and the next day she remembers it. It's the first time she has remembered anything since she was 10, but the boy is gone. She thinks he's moved to the Arctic, and she basically thinks that following him will be the key to unlocking all her memories and regaining her memory. I bought this book to kind of review the aspect of disability in the novel, how it's portrayed and all that kind of stuff, because I do have a disability myself. I do like to read other books featuring disabled characters, and I think the representation of disabled characters in books is important because I don't think we have a whole lot of representations of disabled characters in general, and if there has been representation like in Me Before You, then it's pretty darn crappy. So I'm interested to see how this book deals with the topic of memory loss and amnesia and just, you know, having a disability. So those are all of the books that I bought through the month of December, received for Christmas, and all the books that my sister kind of got that I also want to read. If you like this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can see future videos. Be sure to check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!